Good morning to you all. If you are from US and if you're all from India and other parts, good night, good evening, um, good afternoon if you're from Europe. So it's wonderful that today we are having one of our favorite musicians, a very thinking musician and a brilliant musician, Vidwan Ramakrishnan Murthy with us.
Hi, Na. Hi,
Hi,
everybody
Ram.
watching
How are you?
online. I'm fine, Na.
Very nice
As
to
fine
see
as
you.
things can be. Yes,
I
likewise,
know
likewise.
the COVID it brings us, to a face-to-face interaction online. Otherwise, நம்மலாம் நேரா பார்த்துக்கிறதுக்கு கூட time கிடைக்கிறது இல்ல with all our
Um,
schedules.
yeah. So I guess we should count these things as some of the good things that come out of this, this
Absolutely,
global disaster. So
absolutely, and it also makes us think a lot on various perspectives of music,
yeah,
other than
yeah,
continuously singing our concerts.
yeah, yeah,
We
yeah.
have more time to contemplate on our
I think
journey.
this is, I think this is a good thing for our psyches as well. Like even in such catastrophic and traumatic events such as this, for for people with some sort of privilege who are blessed, like myself and you, there is a silver lining. Like you said, we get to do all these things and we get to introspect and we get to talk to one another, which frankly never happened when we were just living our normal life. Yeah, so I think
Absolutely,
we have to take some happiness out of that and try to do whatever we can to help those that are not as privileged, unfortunately. So anyway, so
absolutely. Lockdown doesn't mean lockdown of our brains. It actually opens up this other way around.
yeah.
So, anyways, today we have a very beautiful topic that I would like to have a conversation with you.
Yeah.
It is going to be on the balance, as an artist, the balance between the intellect or the mind versus the heart.
Right.
Now, to define mind becomes very difficult because a lot of it's a term that has no equivalent in any terminology medically. Because mind அப்படின்றது எந்த பார்ட்ன்றது யாருக்குமே சொல்ல தெரியாது. ஹார்ட்னாவது நம்ம சொல்லிட முடியும். Mind as a part we are not able to say. Brain, so where is it, where is but the mindfulness is what I mean. Okay, so let's get into a quick talk on that. But before that, I'm going to ask the journey, your journey a little bit. So a lot of people are intrigued about the making of a musician. What made you get into a state that I can be into music? So I'm going to trace back to a stage when you were, your parents would have put you to music training, which would have happened. And at that point of time, it is more that, it is something that they say you are doing it implicitly. That's an age that you are put into that, and you have to go to the classes they put you, whether it's music, for some other people, it would be other things. But from that stage, there would have been a moment in your journey where you thought, no, I love it. I will start singing. I'll start practicing. Now they don't have to tell me. I will do it. I love it. That moment, when did that happen? That magical moment.
So I don't know if I can narrow it down to a particular moment, but I think the interesting thing is I think I first met you after that so-called moment had happened. If you remember, like in Cerrito's library when you sang that concert with I think you did an audiovisual demonstration as well, right?
Correct. About a CD-ROM,
yeah. And I was the over-enthusiastic kid then. So that's the time when I was about 11 or 12 years old when I really, or maybe even younger, 9 or 10.
You were younger. I think I asked some questions and you were one of the first to answer in a jiffy, if I still remember it right. Yeah.
I think I would say at the age of 9 when I came to Chennai to get my Upanayanam done. That is the time in which we spent about 3 months here, my mother and myself and my sister. Of course, my dad finished the ceremonies and went back to the US. I really got a taste of what it was to like, what it was like to live here in India, and my fascination for India and Chennai and the Carnatic music scene really kind of, I fell in love with it really.
Mm-hmm.
And by extension, the reason I was so in love with India or Chennai or whatever it is because obviously my fascination for music. And at that point, I kind of decided to myself that I should live only here. And my way to live here and be connected with what's going around me was music. So, and I loved it so much that I decided, this is what I should really take seriously, and that's kind of how it started, I guess. At that point, I think from then on, it became my only real interest. Actually, I kind of waited away from everything else, including academics. So.
Mm-hmm. So after that, you would have had your first kacheri, like everybody goes through that, some stage, you would have sung your first kacheri. After your first kacheri, you would have got some feedbacks, Did it trigger to you that, I'm good at this some point of time, or before that itself you felt, I'm good at this in some way, or something, some particular inspirational point?
Yeah.
I can do this.
Yeah, so my first concert happened.
Too young to decide on it as a career, but even the point that I'm good at it in some way, the motivational factor.
See, I feel like a human being can kind of, by the time he or she is like 2 or 3 years old, and as a baby you start doing stuff and people laugh, and then the baby laughs when the person in front of them laughs, right? So obviously there's some recognition of positive approbation and things like that even at that early age. So when you get into your teens and stuff, you obviously naturally start to do things that people like you for, or people think you're good at, and you start to do things that you get approbation for, right? So my first concert was when I was I think I had just turned 13, yeah, and I remember it was not a formal arrangetram or anything. I think about a week before the concert happened, my teacher said that I should, my parents should put together some kind of small function to. So it actually happened in a house. It was a house concert, and all our family friends were invited, and there was a dinner after, like a potluck dinner. I remember I was not too nervous during the concert. I was quite comfortable, and I felt pretty good. I don't remember feeling nervous. Nervousness only came after that. Not in the first.
When we are kids, we don't have any sense of who is sitting. Awareness, we don't even have. But suddenly, you start thinking, oh, now I'm going to be watched by people. That comes a little bit after your adolescence, I guess.
Yeah.
So I beautifully return that the mind is the consciousness, or from the brain is the organ and the mind is the consciousness, which is what we said, being mindful. So
right.
Okay, now what we're going to also get into is I'm also going to ask you, I think, I heard you were very, one of your early concerts when you performed in Cleveland, you remember the whole galaxy of musicians sitting there.
Yeah.
Whole galaxy. And so many people were sitting there and listening to you. And that is when, you performed some exquisite music. And then, everybody I remember around in that place, they all started saying, okay, this is an artist whom we are all going to look forward to for a future. So that was a moment that I thought, was very special. I don't know whether they came and told you about it.
I actually, when I remember, I didn't know what was happening actually, because I had come to Cleveland Festival one time before that year, and I had, been part of the festival, and I sang in the competitions and all that stuff, attended concerts and things. 2005, after I sang that concert, I didn't know what was happening. Of course, Sundaram sir talked after the concert, as he usually does for all the concerts. But after that, Radha talked, and after that, Ramakrishnan Mama Pesinar. So I was wondering why are there so many speeches? And it was really special experience, because everybody that was sitting there was top-notch musician and or legend, right? I mean, Vedavalli Mami irunda, Rambhadran Mama irundar. Of course, you were all there. Like all of you were probably my age now back then, right? Yeah.
I remember that there was a whole lot of discussion when we were all sitting in the audience and saying, "Oh, this is a talent to watch for." So every song you picked up, they were saying, "Oh, we can hear. Oh, this is either Ramakrishnan Badwara, even Anna Padram." Yes, in all of those kind of comments were coming in. So I'm just saying that you might not have been aware of all that was happening even from down, but they were getting, everybody was being they were seeing that you are announcing yourself as a musician then.
Yeah.
But of course, then sometime later you made a decision, right? You made a major decision to come to Chennai.
Yeah.
What triggered you? You would have been otherwise. You would have been at that point of time. We had seen that the fancy was there. There was a clear demarcation of an NRI artist versus a artist from India. But after you all arrived, now that you're all established, that tag has actually been removed. Now people are seeing so many other. You have kind of an inspiration for so many people abroad that one can take this as a career, no matter whichever part of the world. Otherwise, people should be around Chennai. They should have. So you also came to Chennai, but you made a decision to take your career, quitting your other options. How did you make that?
And actually, that's to be frank, that's actually a huge misconception. Even நம்ம நல்லி செட்டியார் I heard that in some of his speeches, and even like privately is commented. I heard. I mean, I don't know for sure 100%, but I heard that அவர் ஒரு பெரிய வேலையை விட்டு வந்திருக்காருங்க சங்கீதத்தை தொழிலா பண்றதுக்கு. But actually there was no job. There was no job ever.
அதுதான் கேட்கலாம் நினைச்சேன். என்ன பெரிய வேலை விட்டேன்னு.
ஒண்ணுமே சாக்ரிஃபைஸ் பண்ணலனா அது I mean that's a huge misconception. I mean I'm thankful that he and happy that he has a good opinion of me, but the fact is that I actually did not sacrifice anything at all. I finished my undergraduate. The next week I was in India, and the truth is I was looking for jobs, and I actually got a couple of offers after going for interviews in Chennai. So I came to Chennai with the idea that I was going to live here, but I didn't know if I was going to be a professional musician, because even my guru Sundarajan sir told me you should probably take a job for some time and see how it goes. Then you can take a call later. This was when I just had come and arrived. I went and saw him after I came to India, and this is what he told me. So I went for interviews. I got a few offers, and I asked one of the companies that I was considering. December, people have started kind of, asking me whether I'll be there in December or not, and I plan to, take up some of the concerts that I get, So so during those times, it could be on a weekday afternoon. So can I, just take those couple of hours off and come back and, compensate the time? And they're like, no, you don't get to call it on the shot. You're not even an employee yet, right? We're trying to recruit you. So you don't get to make those kind of decisions. So yeah, fair enough, right? So I said, yeah, I don't think I can do that. And by that time, I had a couple of breaks in my concert singing. Had started. So one of those two concerts was for Shamugishan Trust in Raghusuda Hall, and another one was for the second edition of Pallavi Darbar. I always tell this to people. Those concerts were pretty well received for me, and they were really a huge break for me. Like, no joke, and I'm not just saying this because I'm talking to you now, but I've actually said this privately to many people who have asked me this. So those two concerts kind of gave me a good break, and I started getting offers, from out of town and things like that. And I decided I can't really take up a job right now. So I did have this one friend whose family function I had sung for a few years prior to that. And he was running a company at the time, and he offered me something that I could do, on my own time from home, right? I didn't have to go into the office or whatever. And but the thing is, here's how work works, right? You still have deliverables. You still have to do something and submit something, right? I lasted 1 day in this job. I lasted 1 day. That day I was so stressed out because I didn't know what I was doing with the company. I didn't have people to ask because obviously I was at home. I was not in the office. And with all the stress and about, having something to submit the next day or whatever and not being able to practice, I was stressing myself out. So the next day I'm like, I don't think this is working. That I would say is the best decision I made. I told him frankly that I don't think I can do this. So I told my guru also, and he said, no, I think your career is kind of picked up. I think you should just see where this goes and take a call later. So I just started singing, and here I am, I guess.
So, can you quickly say, I know you have learned from Delhi Sundarajan sir, just because, we're going to keep it very brief, of course, just tribute quickly to all your gurus. Can you quickly tell all your gurus so that, people know that you have learned, of course, Padma Kuti Amma to start with.
Yes,
so
yes.
Before that, did you have any introduction to music?
Yes, actually, when I was a small kid, we were in Michigan, actually, before we moved to California, Irvine, California. And I used to go for Balavihar and from Chinmaya Mission Balavihar and learn shlokas and things from a mami by the name of Sharda Kumar. A very popular and well-known figure in the Detroit community. And she also, after the Balavihar class, used to teach music for, it was a group class. There were so many other people. I wasn't really serious about it then. I mean, I wonder what she thought of this snotty-nosed four-year-old kid like me. But yeah, but I became serious about it. My mother became serious about it, actually, I should say, after we moved to Irvine, California. My teacher, Padma Kuti, which was obviously, needless to say, a huge turning point in my life and my musical journey. She's the one I first. Oh, I mean, amazing is really it's actually the only word we have for us. There's beyond that. Yeah, that kind of discipline, and you have to be demanding, no matter who the student is. If you're really serious about what you have to be demanding, and that requires. I was seeing the Michael Jordan documentary recently, and he says, winning has a price. You have to pay a price. You pay a price to win. So, if you want to be good at something, you have to pay a price. And she demanded that from us, which was the greatest blessing ever. And I have to say, my mother also was quite demanding. With me at home, and she used to make me practice, and she took it seriously. So I learned for Padma Aunty for around 10 years, by which time I had already started learning from Sundararajan sir in 2001. Around this time, because he was, at the peak of his career at the time, and so busy with concerts and touring and things like that. So I also did learn from some other great gurus. I learned from Vaikam Jayachandran for some time during my visits to India. I learned from C.R. Vaidyanathan sir, who's a student of well-known teacher here in Chennai. He's a student of P.S. Narayana Swami. I also briefly learned from the legend Vairamangalam Lakshminarayanan Mama.
Yeah, that must have been a great experience. I still remember his Padantram, and impeccable.
Amazing musician. I'm really, it's unfortunate that I learned from him when I was just 11 and 12. Yeah, I mean, I think so many times, now, if I could interact with him, there would have been so much I would have asked him about his past and how he came up and what his experiences were like. But adala vandu enakku appa thonala, to ask those kind of things, and just, yeah. But anyway, everything happens for a reason, and I've been so blessed to be under my primary guru, Sundararajan sir, who has basically, brought me to some sort of acceptable level from scratch, literally from scratch. And Varnam pada theriyum, Keerthanam pada theriyum, ivvaladan when I went to him, and I really owe everything to him.
And you're also learning from Sriram Kumar.
Yes. That is for the past about 10 years or so. I've also been under the guidance of Sriram Kumar Anna. Again, another huge turning point in my musical outlook. But I have to say that only because of the grounding, the real grounding that I received from Sundararajan sir in terms of what we say is like the advanced aspect of Carnatic music, that I was even able to pick up anything else from any other teacher that I had. அவர் என்ன அந்த மாதிரி கொண்டு வந்ததுனாலதான் என்னால மற்ற கிளாஸ்லயே உட்கார முடிஞ்சது. கொஞ்சமாவது கொஞ்சம் புரிஞ்சது.
Very insightful musician, and a musician who has accompanied so many people, எதை கேட்கணும், எதை கேட்க வைக்கணும், அதெல்லாம் உங்களுக்கு would have given you a lot of thought process into that.
That is the thing. That is the thing. So I know you said you wanted to keep this part brief, but I really have to say this about Sundararajan sir. I feel like, you know, lot of my generation, this I could be wrong. I'm just speaking generally. I feel that a lot of people in my generation and the generation, you know, like people like maybe like 6-7 years younger than me who are starting to sing nowadays, they have not really heard Sundararajan sir play at his peak, right?
Yeah.
They and you know and when we talk about recordings, we talk about, you know, Ramakrishnan recording with Shamugdeval and things like that. I don't know how much we look at what he has played for Shashank and Ravi Kiran and Srinivas and Sheshagopal and Shankar Narayanan.
Sheshagopal sir, innumerable concerts of such high caliber music, you know, both have produced, and the bond, first of all, the chemistry.
Yeah, Hyderabad brothers. Even in the artists, Balamurali sir, in the artists like in the 90s, when they were still singing and of course most of them are still performing now. But in the 90s, except for Srinivas sir, of course. But the 90s, when all of them were going at full vigor, full strength, இவர் தான் முக்கால்வாசி கச்சேரி வாசிச்சிருக்காரு. எப்படி வாசிச்சிருக்காருன்னா, I mean, it's really indescribable. Really indescribable. I mean, and the Mari is just obviously I'm biased because he's my guru, but I mean, I just feel like many people haven't listened to that part. They don't really know about that history.
No, even as a guru, I have known several of his students are very lucky to learn from him in different ways. He gives you various perspectives. But I'm going to come to a specific point now, which brings us to the actual topic. So for us, there is somewhere, you know, a lot of people have also been asking even online, you know, your influence of KVN's music. So before getting into one particular person, particular artist, I'm going to ask you, when you started listening, I mean, as a kid, you would have started hearing some music, right? So were you consciously aware that I like some music, or you just emotionally like something? And at what stage you started thinking that I want to understand, I want to follow this music, and then stuck to some styles that you heard?
So actually,
are you now still thinking that you are sticking to some styles, or you still want to expand your horizons? It's a very big question.
Yeah, it's a huge question. I mean, I can tell you that my introduction to listening itself was through Sundararajan sir only. He gave me my first set of tapes, which my mother promptly copied. And I still remember each and every tape that he gave me. Ramakrishnan with Chandrasekharan and Shivaraman, that Begada Pallavi, and the Begada Pallavi irukkum adula. Shamugadi Shivasi oru kacheri irundhudu. I think it was 56 Academy, T.N. Krishnan Vellu Rambadran.
Amazing concert, yeah.
They go for 20 minutes, right? That, and he gave me one more, Arathur Brothers, a national program with T.K. Shulu on the violin and Ramanathapuram Murugupati on the mrugangam. அதுல வந்து தாசு கோவில நான் பாடிப்பான்னு நினைக்கிறேன். And the main piece of that concert is Karnataka, Neelot Palamba. Anyway, those memories are so fresh in my mind, and I was just instantly hooked. There was something about the music that just...
How old were you?
Intact. 11 or 12. On a summer vacation to India. And of course, I was listening to many live concerts then. You know, at that time, you know, US la vandu nariya nalla kacheri la varum, right? So I was listening to live concerts then too, which also made a huge impact on me. I mean, I still remember almost all of the concerts I heard at that time.
Yeah, all your Shima days.
Yes. Oh, memorable days.
So now, somewhere, you know, so a lot of people are very inquisitive that, you know, you are, they believe that you are a great follower of KVN sir. Your impressions on it?
First of all, I should say, not just for the sake of
my
formality.
question.
Yeah. I mean, I should say not just for the sake of formality that such a comparison is very flattering. KVN Mama's music it's really timeless, honestly. Like all the legends that we revere, is really everlasting, really timeless. Such people, they never really die. They live on through their music for eternity, really. So I'm really, really, really flattered that my name is even brought up with a name like his first. But he is not the music that I heard first, and not the music that comes to me when somebody asks me who's your favorite musician. Of course, every musician, including KV and Mama, is there that I really love and adore. But I mean, maybe this could be politically correct or incorrect. Musician number one, என்னோட மனசுல செம்மகுடி ஸ்ரீனிவாசன் தான். I don't know what to say for this. It's just an emotional thing for me. I mean, really, the fascination with him transcends the music even.
Energy. First of all, the energy. What is? It's an electricity of so many volts that passes through your body when you hear it. That's the kind of charge you get.
Yeah, I mean, it gets me worked up even like really talking about it. I mean.
So that brings me to a very important question. I'm going to ask you a very deeper question into this.
Yeah.
So, taking this conversation to a slightly different plane. So mainly, we all hear this, right? They have all sung. We have heard all this vintage artists,
Yeah.
We have heard only, இப்போலாம் நம்ம பயங்கர technology, sound quality of the audio is so good and all that. Both live and recordings are very beautifully done. And we have all the surround system and everything. But remember that, we had hardly, any of these, some spool tapes given by some collectors. That's what we have. Of many of the other artists, Sammangudi Mama at least, lived, for a longer period of time. But many other artists, like Ariyagudi Ramajang or Alathur Brothers or a GN Sir or a Maduramani, so many others, Ramakrishnan, every other musician who lived in the past. So, hearing them only through their recordings, and still, after 50 years or 60 years, that music is so overpowering. MD Ramanathan, Ramakrishnan, KVN Sir, everybody. So, what is that magic? And do you think, from that period, now when we sit and hear a kacheri, even as a musician, I'm asking you this, is there something that we are striving towards still and we are in the journey and we need time? I mean, people should give time to the artists now. Or you think that, over a period of time, this will also be heard that same way. But when we hear that, I have heard it, we would have heard some of those concerts even 150 times. Even now, it's so mesmerizing. Every single time you hear it, it's so fresh. It's like hearing for the first time. There's some magic in it. What is it to you?
It's hard for me to rationally even answer this question, honestly. Because I'm actually a little bit, I have to be honest, but I'm a little sad to say this, that I know and the Brahmalendu na velle varla na as a musician. To do something meaningful, you have to acknowledge your own individuality first, right? And you have to have the confidence in yourself to produce something that is meaningful. Now, you can't do that if you're still in love with something that that captures your imagination, or something that affects you so much emotionally and intellectually. So I have to admit, honestly, அவ பாடுனதுல நான் இன்னும் வெளியே வரல, அந்த பிரமையிலேயே இருக்கேன் நான். So I don't know what to say really. I mean, I'm so taken in by what you said, that about how we listen to these legends and how their music is timeless. I mean, I hope at some point I'll maybe come out of it and start thinking about what I need to do and think about my own music more. But at this point, my music is just my music. Honestly, it's a misnomer, because it's not mine at all. It's not mine at all. Just some kind of inspiration. Whatever has made me so obsessed with this music, it is just a small reflection of what I have understood in my brain and what my throat is capable of producing, that really comes out. So it is really, and this is not humility, this is not being humble. This is the bare truth. This is really the truth about me. நான் இன்னும் அந்த பிரமையிலிருந்து வெளில வரவே இல்லை. Once I broke down to my guru, saying that I've been listening to, I'm getting a little emotional talking about it right now, but பாடுறது கேட்கிறேன். I mean, really, I can't even come close. When I sing, I feel like sometimes like I think too much about the notes that I'm singing, whether I'm on tune or not. In the very basic doubt, how can you think about producing something that is meaningful or makes that much of an impact as what you heard? It's the kind of ease that they all sang with, the kind of flow that they all sang with. ஒரு கேள்வி மாமா பாடினார்னா அந்த சுத்தி சேர்றதுக்கே யோசிக்க வேண்டாம், சுத்தி சேர்ந்துருக்கு இல்லையா? So I mean, that's something I struggle with day in and day out. It doesn't matter whether it's concerts or not. Even when I sing at home, I can't continue beyond the point because I'm like, this is so hopeless. But yes, the spirit is just to fight beyond that. And yeah, sometimes it overwhelms me. Sometimes I try to fight past it and I try to keep it going. Whatever.
Most importantly, that thing is, when I feel, I try to say that, that music was more, it's something that we still are able to see that it's very organic. It's like farm fresh. Now I know we have super malls and everything that is there, and everything is very beautifully presented. It's very beautiful. It's a different thing. So where the presentation versus farm fresh, again, we need to get back to the organic stuff. Somewhere, what is that organic?
I would like to share something that I asked. I've had the privilege of sharing the stage with many legends who were around at that time when the stalwarts that I idolized were performing, right? So they themselves are obviously stalwarts that performed with them back then. So one time I asked Shankaran Mama, Pichi Shankaran sir, I asked him, in a candid moment, I asked him, what do you think is the difference? Because you've seen what was happening back then, you see what's happening now musically. What is the big difference to you? Do you think there is a difference? And if that difference, what is it? And he told me, I was actually, I didn't know whether I could even ask him such a question, whether it was respectful to ask him such a question, but I was really, really intent on trying to pick his brain, trying to get something. Because of the fact that I'm so taken in with the music of that generation that he played for, right? So, but he really stunned me with his candor, and he told me, there was a lot of soul back then. There was a lot of soul. And he even made a joke after that. He said, with regards to Mridangam playing, he said back then it was soulful, now it's soulful. So, yeah, but that's how do we get to that? How do we get to that? Like you said, how do we get back to what's organic, what's natural?
No, that's where this topic itself is. This topic itself is where are we going more intellectual, and the heart content is a little bit iffy, or they balanced beautifully the heart and the mind in a more balanced state, and we are still striving to get there.
Yeah. I mean, we have the benefit of a modern education and modern exposure to so many things. They were in their villages, just doing this without any other distraction, without any other thoughts, without any other, it was just music all the time. So that's, I say that's both a positive, and maybe in today's context, maybe could be perceived as a negative thing, because we have to be aware of what's going on around us in the world. As human beings, we have to be aware of all that, right? Upon we can say that maybe, obviously we don't know what the experience of individuals that lived in that time were, but we can say that maybe Sangeeta Tavara Vera Kavaliye illa sollala. I mean, now that most of them are kind of gone, we can kind of assume,
So I'm going to ask you a very difficult question. Is it also that, you like something, but sometimes there's a constant pressure. You're worried about getting into a stage where you are not sure whether the audience will receive what you exactly like versus what you are actually presenting. Is there something like that? That conflict is there somewhere?
Yeah, that is there. That is there, totally. But that is because I feel, again, speaking very frankly, I think that conflict arises because we are not confident at that moment in the music that we're presenting. And I firmly believe that if you are confident and you have that much conviction in what you are singing or what you're presenting, there's no need to worry about what the audience is receiving or how they're reacting, because it will be good. See, if you think there's some divine aspect to the ragas that we sing or the compositions that I sing, and I'm not talking about a godhead here. I'm not talking about religion, or I'm not talking about bhakti in the literal sense. I'm talking about bhakti in the sense of the music. You have to believe that it's powerful enough to appeal to anybody in any situation. And it's because we don't have enough engagement and we don't have enough faith and enough expertise at that moment in our music to be confident that it will be received well by whoever's listening to it. That means you just have to work harder at your music so that you don't face such a moment in the next concert or whatever. I strongly believe that. So yes, that situation does arise, but that's the reason for the situation to arise, is that I'm just not good enough. I haven't done my homework well enough to avoid that situation. That's all it is.
So I'm going to ask you another question, which is like, so in today's era, we are having to battle with so many things. There's a lot of terminologies going around. Sometimes we are still in a phase of being student and a performer constantly. That is always a journey. But having that in mind, this is again something that we hear a lot. Now, there is a lot of emphasis. Even yesterday, I had done one session on voice culture. So there is a lot of emphasis on voice culture, voice training, and all that, along with the musical knowledge that we produce. So we want an execution faculty. But you take those masters, they had none of somebody coming and telling them this is voice culture, this is something, but something magical about their music. So, and they lasted for decades. So, till they're, very faggot, they could still perform with great amount of conviction and heart, basically. So, so sometimes are we getting too much into the detailing of what we are doing? I understand when you have a problem, you are forced to think what could be a solution, but is it becoming a new norm that we are contemplating too much or analyzing?
Yeah, I mean, I have, maybe it's easier if we don't think too much about what we're doing. When in the beginning, when we were learning all the verses and things, at least when I was learning from my teacher Padma Auntie, voice culture I didn't even know how to put those two words together. Voice culture. I mean, what? I didn't know, right? And there's always a notion that in our music we are always taught what to sing, but not how to sing, which is true. But I had the privilege of learning from a teacher who I now realize taught me to sing in the right way, more or less. Right? These things are fundamental things that I was fortunate enough to have a teacher who stressed on these things. You have to sing with your mouth open, which is actually the basis of, if I understand correctly, there's the basis of all voice culture is to just keep your mouth in the correct position when you sing. Right? That is how you get the sound, and that is how you get the proper projection of your voice. Right? So I was fortunate to learn about these things before actually I knew there was something called voice culture. Of course, I have had my own experience with actual voice culture with Dr. Shyamala Vinod, because, like you said, I was having a problem a few years back. I needed to get it fixed. Right? And at that point, I realized that I was actually not taking on some of the things that Padma Auntie had taught me. I was not opening my mouth enough. Of course, there were other problems as well, but not really relevant to.
Does it become, while you start performing, does it become that some mannerisms and some habits we pick as a performer without our subconscious mind? As a student, we're doing certain things, certain practice methods. As a performer, are we getting into some situations sometimes where we don't, we are over exuberant about, the audience flow, and that we get carried away, we abuse a bit and get into a problem. That happens.
So there's a few points here. One is obviously when you're on stage, you're obviously consumed by how the audience is reacting to you, right or wrong. You are, as a human being, you will be enthused when the audience reacts positively to you. And you will want to do more of whatever you think is actually making them react that way. It's natural. And in that point, under enthusiasm level, you might do and overdo some things, which is detrimental to your overall voice health. Right? That's one. Another thing is when you're talking about this from a purely professional or performance point of view, there's also lifestyle hazards that we all face as performers, right? The very fact that we travel and we have to stay at an unfamiliar place, eat unfamiliar food, sometimes not get what we want, sometimes not get what we think we need at that moment, because that will help us sing well or perform well. You just have to go and make do with whatever you have, right? So that is also something that affects your voice health. And that is the challenge that I face. I had to make some changes with respect to my lifestyle and things like that. Even I mean, the how you accept concepts itself, at what frequency you're singing, or at what frequency are you performing, what are you doing for your rest and recovery. See, these are things that நம்ம பழைய காலத்துல வந்து நம்ம சொல்றோம், அவளுக்கு வாய்ஸ் எல்லாம் தெரியாது, அவள் கடைசி வரைக்கும் பாடினா, yes, very true. But the lifestyle also afforded that, because in those days, maybe 40-50 years back, the lifestyle was a lot slower. You could not just sing one thing.
தெரியாதுன்னு சொல்ல மாட்டேன். நான் வந்து என்ன சொல்லுவேன்னா, இப்போ நான் வாய்ஸ் கல்ச்சர் தெரியாதுன்னு சொல்ல மாட்டேன். ஃபார் இன்ஸ்டன்ஸ் நான் என்ன சொல்லுவேன்னா, அவளோட வாய்ஸை பத்தி they were more mindful, they were aware. For instance, KVN sir, from the early stages to a later stage, over the years he kept changing his approach to music.
Yeah, for sure.
It was very different from what he had started singing when he was just an Ariyakudi Ramanjingar sir student.
Exactly,
then it became a KVN.
No, I totally agree with you. But that was like internal introspection without actually knowing that it's called voice culture, or whatever term you want to apply to it, right? And my point about the lifestyle was, you can't sing in Madurai one day and then go the next day, sing, fly and go sing in Delhi the next day, and then leave for a US tour the next day. That could not happen, right? I have heard people say that, and then maybe a vocalist might sing like 4-5 times a month. That's it, max. Season meant 3 concerts in Chennai in the same month at Sabhas, excluding wedding concerts and other all-day radio recordings, or whatever the case may be. This is not the lifestyle we live today, right?
True.
So that also plays a huge factor.
Particularly when you go on concert tours, when you have to perform on Saturday and Sunday, and then back to back, your Sunday concert is afternoon 3 o'clock in US time.
God. Tell me about it.
And you don't even have time to warm up. Also, now I want to ask you that a lot of students keep asking, what is the warm up that you do for a concert? What is your concert day makeup?
So, so in the beginning, I actually didn't know about warming up either. I didn't know about what voice culture was. I had never been exposed to it. I didn't know what warming up was. I didn't know what rest was. Recovery was nothing. கச்சேரினா அன்னைக்கு போய் சாயந்தரம் 6 மணிக்கு போய் பாடணும், அவ்வளவுதான். That is, and that works if you have a lifestyle like what they were living 40-50 years ago. But no, that's not our life. We need outside food. We want to go to the newest restaurant and check out all that food. We want to go to the amusement park and do whatever it is, right? So, I mean, so in the context of warming up and all that, it's very personal, and you have to figure out what your voice responds to, how you can get your voice to open out, how much time it requires you to open up your voice to the extent that you are able to produce what you want to produce, like, right? Again, tying back to the concept between the mind and the heart, like what you can think something, but are you able to produce it here and create the desired effect, right? So it's just a lot of introspection. And yes, I was fortunate enough to seek out professional help to kind of get an idea about what works for me and what I should do before a concert and after a concert. I'm still learning.
What do you do? What do you do? Do you do any meditation? Do you do any pranayamam? Do you do any of the other things like do you do akara sadhagam? Do you do sing the song items? These are all intriguing questions that people keep floating around.
See, I could answer you if I had a formula that worked and I was 100% before each concert because I just know what to do and I just attack it. But no, it doesn't work that way. Most of the time, I'm not very satisfied with my voice when my concert starts, just being honest. And I have to figure my way around it. I have to maneuver around it and adjust my singing so that I can kind of mask those hindrances. But what I
so
do
you assess
is,
as it goes. You assess during the first song and the second song how you feel that day, and then do you custom make your program, or you prepare a list that you are kind of sure that it'll and the days your voice is not cooperative, you're sure of this songs might work even if I don't have the best of my voice today.
yeah, I mean, when your voice is totally not working and you're like kind of like hampered, you have a sickness or something, it's a different story. I mean, you just have to go and take it on the fly. It's probably better to be silent as much as you can before the concert in those kind of situations. But other than that, generally speaking, I try to do some akara exercises before I go for a concert. Something vaguely resembling the verses, but not. Sometimes I may sing a varnam, just the purvangam of a varnam in couple of speeds with sahityam and akaram. Sometimes I might try to hold notes longer. Basically, whatever I need to come to a point where I'm like, either it's time to go for the concert, it's too late, you can't do anything else, or to a point where I feel like I can sing with some sort of speed, right? So, yeah, I mean, I'm sorry if it seems like I'm being evasive, but really the thing is,
no. Any particular ragam that kind of gives you that if I practice in this ragam now, for instance, for me, I would say that whenever I am trying to just hum abogi or something like that, not even not in a sampurnam scale.
That's a tough one. Yeah, that's
so something like that.
That I would not be able to do. Like mine is Maya Maragola. That's
default ஏதாவது வருமான்னு கேக்குறாங்க.
Default Maya Maragola தான். I sometimes notice that when I'm just humming randomly, not sitting down for practice or anything, just like walking around and humming randomly, for some reason I start singing this Pahi Sri Giza, and I won't be singing in my own Shruti. Some random Shruti I'll be singing in, but somehow that aren't the very that comes to me. I don't know why. But yeah, but when I sit down and practice and try to do some warm up, that works for me.
Correct. Now the other thing is the joy of being on stage. Though this is an electronic era, you are one artist now. I can even see in the background you are having two tamburas. So the joy of just enjoying and tuning a tambura and singing along. You even practice at home with the tambura, or you just only for stage you use tambura? This is something many people keep asking us.
Oh no,
I sing with tambura
at home. No, I sing with tambura at home.
Good.
Honestly, I would actually say I think I'm better at tuning the tambura than singing with it.
Yeah, exactly. Just a feeling of having a tuneful tambura makes you want to sing. So
yeah, but it's tough. I struggle with Shruti Shuddham so much. It's a constant battle. I mean, I look at KV and Mama and MD Ramanathan and Madhurmani here, and again going back to what we discussed earlier in this conversation, it's just and the drama I'm not able to sing like that. I can't sing with that much fidelity in tambura. If you ask me the one thing that I really want, I know we've talked about this, off camera before. The one thing that I really want, the one thing that I really want to accomplish in my musical, I want to be able to sing in tune with the tambura without having to think about it. That's the one thing I really want. That's all I want, really. Because then
you become the tambura yourself.
Because then nothing else matters. Even if you sing the most basic thing, it's very beautiful. I don't need to do it. I don't want to think about what I'm singing. I just want to sing with the tambura. That's it.
I still remember the one thing, one time, or a particular conversation, even about the voice culture when we were talking. I was just wanting to say this. Brindama used to say that, the voice for her, though we say that, they were the voice culture concept, she was thinking of looking at like a gopuram. She was saying, it should be the bass should be nice and strong. And as you go up, it should become, voice should become Sannama, Kambi Mari Rukono, like the tip of the Gopuram. So that is the definition exactly she used to give.
That's amazing. Yeah.
Oh.
So that's a really nice, beautiful imagery for that actually.
Yeah. So she had a picture of what her voice should be. Similarly, Amma used to continuously keep harping that, one should, every time I saw, even when she was not in her best of health and it was towards her fag end, when she was even failing to recollect people, the one thing that she was continuously telling when I sang in front of her was, Ice sabdada, ice tani sabdada, thairi sabdada. This was only the thing that she was repeating this almost 25, 30 times. When I met her,
Amazing. MS Amma, Brindama, I mean, both of them, same category as what I just said, KV Rama, MD Ramanathan, Madhumani, all these people, impeccable. Oru swaram, oru anuswaram. Is it out of tune? Never. That is really what I want.
And now I'm going to ask you some intrinsic musical things into the Manodharmam side, So we're going to get a little bit more into the subject of music itself. So I'm going to ask you these questions of, Manodharmam when you're thinking. So you have heard a lot of music. So your early introduction, you would have been trying to sing a Kalpanaswaram. Your early memories of a Kalpanaswaram or a Nerebel. Were you just inspired by some, or your teacher guided you? Were you inspired by something that you heard and you wanted to reproduce that initially? Or were you trying patterns on your own? And then later on, when it comes to Manodharmam, as a musician, now I'm asking, we are singing for a particular song, right? So off stage, off camera, we have discussed this also many times. We are singing a particular song. Should we project, or should we contemplate on what the song intended to project? Because Shama Shastri would have approached Todi differently, Tyagaraja differently, and Dikshita differently, many other composers, many other great composers differently. So when I'm singing a particular composition, is the Alapane supposed to be a prelude and to create a mood to that contemplation of that song? Or is it my voice can sing this all in Todi today or Kalyani today? So can I exhibit, and my vocal faculties are helping me sing all this. Should I exhibit all of those in that concert? So what is it? What is it that works?
I mean, again, this is going to be a very, very personal response, right? Because I can only speak for myself.
Yes.
But to me, in a concert setup, everything is built around the composition, right? Generally speaking, everything is built around the composition. So the composition is the central theme. So ideally, your Manodharmam should be akin to whatever composition you're presenting. I guess with the exception of Ragam Tanam Pallavi, because that is, I think, almost 100%. There's no Kalpitam there. You can say that, I think, right? Except that small line. That also, I mean, depending on whether you're singing somebody else's line or your own line, pretty much.
I usually say Ragam Tanam Pallavi is a very comfort zone for an artist in a certain way, because you're sure that I don't have to worry about anything else. My loyalty and integrity is towards what I have created as a line for myself, and I'm very sure that this line I can do this.
Yeah. So with the exception of that, the central theme of what we're presenting is the composition. So ideally speaking, the Manodharmam should be based on that. Now, is it like that all the time, or even some of the time? Probably not. But yes, ideally speaking, that's how it should be. And with regard to singing like a Naraval or Swaram,
I'll be a little bit more specific in Raga Alapani, for instance, just to give the viewers also a perspective. See, suppose you're singing a Tyagaraja Sangati, Kriti.
Or which, depending on the Raga, Tyagaraja Kriti.
Kolu Maragada, for instance.
Sure.
So when you're singing Kolu Maragada or say Urangasai, which was Sangadi led, right? So now Tyagaraja style is generally, or what we see currently, I would rather put it that way, because I don't know how he originally sang. So currently what we have is more Sangadi driven, more Madhyama Kalam Sangadi driven. So would my basic tempo of the ragam will also be dictated towards that? And when I'm singing Shama Shastra or Dikshitar, for instance, is completely, he will never follow a regular organic pattern of just the Arohanam, Avrohanam patterns of the ragam itself. It will be completely zigzag. It will be more of jarus and more of the curves, and the Kala Pramanam is also more Vilambit in most cases. So our approach of Subramanya Namaste to Oranga Sai would change to Ma Janaki.
See, the problem with this
compositions are different.
See, the problem with saying ideally that it should be based on the composition is that the whole notion of being based on the composition is so interpretive anyway, right? So who's to say what, you know, you could justify, you could sing anything and say and justify it by saying, no, in the Kirtana, I was only thinking about this composition when I was singing, right? And you can point to some particular.
Then we get into an ego exhibition of sometimes, you know, my voice can do this, so I can do all of this. But somewhere, you know, you have to balance, you know, a little bit of your artistry with this. So that balance is where I'm getting.
That naturally is going to happen anyway, man. I mean, let's be honest about it. We are musicians sitting in front of an audience, and they're going to react some way for what we are doing. Or naturally, our ego is going to get carried away when we are going to do something that we think are possible with our voice. That thing is definitely going to come, right? But as you said, striking a balance somewhere.
No, my idea of this whole conversation is, when we get 15 different todis at the end of our career, or 30 different todis, at least in approach, if somebody hears us over a period of time, you know, rather than, you know, I have only, you know, oh, this is XYZ style, and they will only get, oh, we'll get all of these sangadis in a sequence. So 10 recordings we put, we know that this will be a sequence.
So Ragam Padra, I've heard that, you know, there are, you know, I guess 2 distinct kind of styles of singing Ragam. Chittaya Padra one, right? Kalpanaya Padra one. Right? The Chittai version of the Raga could be applicable for anything, actually. It's just a capsule, you can, roughly speaking, capsule version of that Raga, which could make sense before any composition that you kind of want to sing. Now, Kalpanaya Parada, I mean, like singing according to your gay abandon, right? And that is very, very interpretative. You can say, in the Sangati Vechinde only you can develop so much, and it may go to a tangent which is actually not related to the Kriti at all. But you could justify it by saying that this idea came from this line. You could say that you could just sing in this region of Kambodji without even singing that particular Sangati, and say that my thought process was inspired by Oranga Shai.
Good. No, as long as it's inspired by that, that's great. But what where I was coming to was the connect between the exhibition of our vocal faculties, or the deficiencies of our vocal faculties, versus, you know, the ragam itself. Sometimes it could be even the deficiencies. My limitations could be my style could be my deficiencies.
Sure, yeah. See,
camouflaging the deficiencies.
Yeah, Shamuguri Shinwasayer also sang Todi before Kolu Varagada. Harikuri Ramakrishnan also sang Todi before Kolu Varagada, right? Both of them could have been inspired by the same composition and sang Ragam, but obviously their pluses and minuses influence how they have interpreted that. That's what you're saying, right? Kind of.
Right.
Yeah.
And then also with the Naravel lines. Now, when we get into Naravels, it's you know, a lot of musicians, I'm sure all the past masters you would have heard, you know, they don't sing all this, you know, the main thing is, even in Manodharmam, their emphasis is more to Naravel than to elaborate long round of swarams.
Wait, say that again. You were saying the emphasis was on Naravel more than actually swaram singing.
Long round of swarams. They've rather concised the swaram singing to, you know, short rounds predominantly, 1 avartanams, half avartanams mainly, then 1 or 2 long avartanams, you know, 1 or 2 long rounds.
But you could also say conversely enough that in most of the old recordings we hear, கடைசியில வந்து ஒரு பெரிய ஸ்வரம் ரவுண்ட் இருக்கும், correct? I mean, even with Korapu, and there will be a long swaram. But conversely, there's hardly ever a huge Naraval round.
Yes, the Naraval rounds are, but the emphasis to Naravels was a lot more, is what I'm saying. They would have had at least 3 or 4 compositions, or 3 compositions where they have done Naraval in a kacheri.
Okay, yeah. Well, it also has to do with kacheri length, and yeah, that's true. Yeah.
No, but what do you think about Neraval itself? Do you think that's the more complicated thing in terms of Manodharmam for you?
Oh,
You would
undoubtedly.
attach more emphasis on Neraval versus something else, or you attach everything in the same balance?
I mean, there's many ways you could approach this question. You could do it from a purely musical point of view, an intellectual point of view, and say that yes, Naraval is the most challenging. And you should say that, for the sake of doing something intellectually stimulating, that yes, singing more Naraval would obviously equal being more intellectual and being more creative and what have you. You could also go from an emotional perspective and say that because of the complexity of singing Naraval, which includes Sahityam and Sangeeta and Laya and Bhavam, that you have the potential to actually inspire a lot more emotions in whoever's listening by singing Naraval, right? Because you're working with a certain theme that means something, right? And musically elaborating that theme could lead to a lot of emotions, right?
I'm
So
asking
you
these
could
questions
say that.
basically because I've heard you sing a lot of Neravals, and and KVN was also a great master of Neravals. And are you consciously making an effort that you want to sing more Neravals in your kacheri?
I don't think I would say that. I think probably, uh, there is a certain beauty to playing with the words and the music side by side and having them intertwined with each other. Like the way you negotiate the syllables in a Naraval line, which KVN used to do masterfully, right? I think KVN's like best aspect of Naraval singing is not just the technical aspect, right? Of not just that,
Yeah,
but the emotional aspect. If you see Krishnani Vedanela kuda vandu Naraval paduvar actually.
correct,
You would not
correct.
technically call it Naraval, but it is that actually. And
Yeah.
that is not, like Krishna Gani Ibega Gani அந்த மாதிரி கிடையாது. அந்த syllables அப்படி சொல்றது கிடையாது. That is something on a different realm.
This is an emotional
Emotional,
expression.
yeah.
That's more a nyasam or something we can call it.
Yes. At the same time, not to undermine his technical brilliance. I mean, if you see him singing Naraval for Veda Shastra, I mean, that is just brilliant. That's just genius. Genius. And
Ahi
within that,
Parvata.
Pahi Parvata, amazing. That's so challenging also.
Yes.
எத்தனையோ example இருக்கு, so.
Correct. The other thing now, the most important thing that I would ask you is, as a musician, now your mind, right? Your mind as a musician would tell you so many things, so many ideas, versus your voice, the index of what your voice can execute. Your mind still might have, I want to sing this, I want to sing that. My voice can execute so much percentage of whatever my mind says. So have you ever felt something like that? And you have thought, if at all my voice can execute everything that I have, I would be this.
First of all, I would like to recollect a quote from Shamaguri Srinivasayya that I actually read, that he gave in an interview. I think he concluded the interview, at least the writer of that interview concluded the interview by saying that in a very private moment, Shamaguri Erwal said, in my lifetime, I have been tortured by musical thoughts coming to my head that I'm just not able to produce on my voice because of my struggles with my voice. And I've just done my best to do whatever I can with it. When somebody like him, when you consider the kind of output that he has actually given with his physical voice, the kind of emotions that he has spurred, even notwithstanding all his voice difficulties and nasality, etc. Where are we? Where do I stand compared to that? I mean, I can easily say that yes, I face such conflict between the mind and voice, but really, I mean, when a great man like that says something like that, I should just, just keep it silent and just sing whatever it is that comes.
I still remember when he was about 95, before his death, 94 or something, when I met him towards his fag end, he was still learning a composition, he was still learning a composition, sitting, and it was a Dikshita's composition that he was learning. Then I was waiting outside itself. I didn't want to barge in. Then he called me and then I went in. But I asked him, mama ipo idu paadin irukkingo adnal disturb panna vaana. That he immediately said, இப்பதான் எனக்கு எனக்கு என்ன எனக்கு ஒரு ஞானம் வந்துட்டு இருக்குடா. எனக்கு வர ஞானத்துக்கு எனக்கு இதெல்லாம் பாடணும்னு ஆசை. ஆனா எனக்கு ஆயுசு இந்த ஆயுசத்துல முடியுமா, இந்த ஆயுசுல முடியுமா இல்லையா, நெக்ஸ்ட் ஜென்மத்திலயாவது இதெல்லாம் பாடணும். I still remember him saying that, So at 94, somebody wants to still learn a composition and thinks, their musical acumen is actually developing only then. And for the kind of music they produce, as you said, if that statement comes from somebody like them, then I don't know what else we can say.
There's nothing to say. There's nothing to say. It's just, we just have to pray that we have that attitude, that constantly thinking that what we do is not enough. It's not enough.
So there are some questions, Ram. I'm going to get to some questions that some people want to talk to you about or ask you. So I'm going to read it on their behalf so that, you could say that, and then we'll go to the conclusion of this. Of course, a conversation with you, I never like to conclude so easily. So there are many people who are asking about, where are the entire comments? So what are some of the kritis you sang when you sang in Cleveland, or somebody asked it way back? Do you remember anything?
From the first concert in, I think 2005? Yeah, I remember a few. I sang Varali, 80 Janmavidi I sang. I sang Begada, I sang Tyagaraja and in Begada.
Okay.
I don't remember what else. I don't remember if I sang a Varnam, I started with something else. No, I sang Nananunsara and Simhavagini somewhere in the concert. I think I remember that. Yeah. Those are the three.
You put a list. You put a list for your concert. And for certain concerts you put, in certain concerts you go on the fly. What is it? Do you believe in putting a list?
Yeah, you have to have a general idea. I mean, in this day and age, actually, when things are being scrutinized quite in detail, it's important to have a good variety about how you go about your concert. Your concert. Because if you
so what would you do if there is what would you do if, I'm going to ask you a hypothetical question. You're going to your concert, and you know that the previous artist has sung, or last 3 days, it has been all Bhairavi. So what did you do?
Honestly, I would sing something other than Bhairavi, because I am not I'm not a genius to say that I can sing a Bhairavi that people have never heard before, or I just feel like singing Bhairavi today. I don't. It doesn't matter to me what has happened before and all that. I would play it safe and sing something other than Bhairavi.
Then suppose you're having requests from listeners. So you go and sit there. No, you're planned something. You're having so many requests coming to you. So there has to be a balance somewhere. So what did you do?
I try to sing as many requests as possible, even if it kind of messes up my plan. I don't know whether that's the right thing to do or not, but that's how I kind of handle it. I sing as many requests as I possibly can, as long as I know the song and I'm somewhat comfortable with it to sing it that day on stage.
So why I was asking you that means that you should be flexible too. Though you have a list, you should still be flexible.
I mean, if you're so rigid, then can you really call yourself an artist of merit?
Yes.
Can you really?
I'm asking these. I am also saying this to as a statement for other young aspiring artists to follow.
Also, by the way, let me also say that sometimes requests inspire you to think a certain way, because you might be so blank before a concert and not have any idea what to say. When the request comes, you can kind of plan around that. So.
Actually, for me, I always say that many times that the requests inspire you more than your own planning. Sometimes you would have planned so much. Many concerts you planned so much. You're probably in a zone of the expected. But when it's something that you don't expect and you produce it, then you are surprising yourself too sometimes on stage.
Yeah.
Okay, now coming to another question, so there's somebody who's asking, how long should a raga alapane last it to be interesting, especially Ganaragams? This is some question. Do you have any thoughts on that?
There's no hard and fast rule, I would say. I know that the elders have advised us. For example, again, Shammugudeval has said that he rarely, even I think P.S. Swami also, I recollect hearing in an interview, he has said, you can rarely find me singing a raga for more than 10 minutes. Because beyond that, there are instances, of course, in which you are inspired and you can sing much beyond that. But usually, within 10 minutes, you would have probably gotten to the essence of that raga, and what needs to be said and done has already been said and done. Usually, again, these are just rules of thumbs and not hard and fast rules. I mean, we see a GN singing a ragam for 50 minutes or whatever, MLV Amma or I don't know. Can we say that it's just based on your own musicianship and your own artistic ability, really?
Now, somebody wants to know, ரசிகர்கள் வந்து ரசிக்கிறதுக்காக அவளுக்கு பிடித்த பாடல்கள் நீங்க நிறைய பாடணுமா? அவளுக்கு தெரிஞ்ச பாட்டு, அவளுக்கு ரொம்ப ஃபெமிலியரா இருக்கிற சாங்ஸ் நிறைய கச்சேரியில பாடணுமா? இல்ல you have to also build their knowledge?
See,
what's the balance?
You're not singing in a concert. You're not singing for one person. You're singing for many people. So ஒவ்வொருத்தருக்கு வந்து என்ன ஃபெமிலியர் என்ன அன்ஃபெமிலியர்ங்கிறது எப்படி தெரியும் நமக்கு? Right? Yes, generally
நம்ம கர்நாடிக் மியூசிக்ல பெரிய சேலஞ்ச் அது.
Yeah, see, you have as a performer, you have a responsibility to satisfy the unwritten contract that lies between you and the listener. Right? Your responsibility is to, for lack of a better term, entertain them. That cannot be dismissed or disrespected in any form. You have to make them feel that their time was worth it. But at the same time, there is an artistic responsibility also. So the $1 million question is how to satisfy that balance. Yes, of course, generally speaking, more people than average would be familiar with a certain song or two, right? Generally speaking, for example, Bhatapi kind of thing, say, for example. So in some cases, singing some so-called popular numbers, obviously it grabs people's attention because the reason why they want something that they know is because they can relate with it, right? That's the only reason. So obviously it's very important to give people something that they relate with. But at the same time, to strike that balance, there are so many unheard melodies or comparatively unheard melodies that are so beautiful, and maybe that becomes a popular song after you sing it, or maybe somebody likes it so much that they request every other artist that they hear to sing that song. You never know. So andamari, like you say often, we have to increase that rasikatvam, right? I know I've heard you say that several times. So
yeah,
right. So
the other thing is, I would also there's another question that somebody is asking, is the focus on lyrics and the deeper spiritual insights being diluted and more focus on presentation today?
I mean, I don't want to pass judgment.
Correct. You don't want to pass judgment on any generation, but
yeah,
in general,
anybody. One great musician once told me, if you get too much into what the great compositions mean, you might lose your focus as a performer. He told me once. Because if you have the kind of bent of mind to really delve on the spiritual aspects and philosophical aspects of some of these compositions, you'll really lose yourself. And it's kind of like it's very beautiful. It's an abyss of bliss, I would say. And as ecstatic as that might be, as blissful as that might be, you do have a responsibility as a performer to kind of be logical and be unemotional about things at a certain point, right? So things that may be good for your spiritual growth may not be good for your professional growth and vice versa. So again, there's a question of balance there.
Correct.
Right? But I mean, கொஞ்சம் கூட வந்து விஷயமே தெரியாம வந்து பாடுறதுங்கிறது, I mean, you can try to know something about what you're singing, right? Instead of just blindly going.
I'm going to ask you one question. You know, have you ever wondered, I am sitting on stage. Every single time I feel, you know, when we sit on stage, have you wondered, why am I sitting on stage today? What am I going to do something? What am I going to do that will make me what I am? And after your concert, have you been in a position to say that between satisfying the audience and satisfying your own taste, you felt comfortable about it? I have done this, and you know, I can sleep peacefully. I did satisfy the audience too. That is one level of being superficially happy that, you know, I've catered to all my rasikas who came today. But there is a mind which in you tells, you know, this is the music that I want to produce, and you know, I have satisfied that also with integrity.
Yeah. So again, this is a large question with many parts. But I feel like I spoke about that unwritten contract between the performer and the listeners. No matter, I mean, let's see, how do I say this? That can never be compromised, according to me. You have a responsibility to make people think that they spent their time in a worthwhile way listening to you. That is never to be compromised. I mean, if you think that's like that can be compromised, and you can do something at the cost of somebody not enjoying what you're doing, you know, getting carried away with your own intellectual pursuits, or your own, you know, even philosophical pursuits. Like you say, you get so much into a composition that, you know, the audience or listeners have no idea what you're doing, and you just kind of on your own trip. That, according to me, my own opinion, flawed, I don't know, right or wrong, I don't know, but just my opinion, that's unacceptable to me. Unacceptable to me. And I also say that nobody ever should know that I had a bad day except me. The listener should never say that இன்னைக்கு கச்சேரி அவ்வளோ நானா இல்ல, அவ்வளோ சோபிக்கல. Of course they will say, of course everybody's human and everybody's had bad days, but to me, nobody should ever say that I had a bad day except for me. I should only know that I had a bad day. And to me, most of my days are bad days.
That's what I'm asking. Somewhere, have you felt that, you know, today I did something which makes me very feel good factor? Like, you know, I lived up to my, if my gurus had come, or if KV and sir, or all the idols that, or Tyagaraja heard me sing the song, probably, you know, he would not have felt bad composing the song. Forget about accepting it.
I mean, I don't know about that, but there have been days in which I felt like, I think I struck a good balance today, I've told myself. And then maybe a week or two later, a recording of that concert might surface, and I might happen to listen to a part of it. I'm like, what was I thinking after the concert when I thought that I had struck a good balance or I had sung well? This is absolute nonsense. That has also happened. You know, you feel after the fact that what you thought was good in the moment after you just finished singing was actually trash. So that has happened a lot of times too.
So I'm going to ask you one question.
Yeah.
Of course, we talked about a lot of past legends and so on, you know?
Yeah.
Do you go to concerts of your friends in December? Do you get, like, before you used to go? I would go to December season. I still enjoy the concerts. I just want to go and enjoy the concerts of others. And, you know, do you feel, you know, I still have something that I can take, you know, from my peers when I sit there? Anything that inspires you, you know, when you go here? I know it's a difficult question, but I'm just asking.
No, it's not difficult at all. Of course, the answer is a resounding yes. Of course. You know, just because I idolize, you know, the musicians of a different generation doesn't mean that the musicians that are available to me to listen to today have nothing to offer. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Everybody is unique in their own way. And musically, I mean, frankly speaking, the things that are being done at your festival in Pallavi Darbar are really, you know, there's no words to describe the kind of prowess that's being displayed in that festival. You know, all artists are, you know, really working so hard, and it's really their genius on display. This is just an example, by the way. Of course, there's more than just Pallavi singing that you can take from artists singing today. Just for example, unbelievable And to be frank, it's much more than what the previous generation sang. It is definitely a development on that, right? So each musician today that's the worth his or her salt most definitely has something to offer. And yes, I am dumbfounded every time, very frankly speaking, holding nothing back. Sometimes I feel like, why did I even come here? What am I doing here really? Because there's so much talent around me and I feel a little overwhelmed sometimes. So that is definitely.
I'm also going to ask you this question, forget about, the very popular and the peers of yours. There are some artists that we as musicians, think this is musicians. Say somebody like Rama Ravi, Mami, or R.K. Srikantan, who used to be there, and many of the others, we would just go and listen to them. We did not care about how many people were listening along with us, but just that as a musician, we wanted that. It's almost like a detox, and it's like something that will make us fresh in some kind of state. So do you collect any of those kinds of memories?
Oh, plenty.
And you feel, they have so much more to offer to the world, and it's an enriching experience.
See, so I would like to preface my sharing my memories by saying that this has nothing to do with popular or unpopular or musician or popular musician or something. None of these tags, just really special memories for me. Hotel room in Cleveland. Myself and Pradeep Kumar was to sing a duet concert the next day. And we were in the hotel room with Tiruvaru Girish, and we each sang like about maybe 2 minutes of Sahana or Begada, and then Girish and I started singing, and really, I couldn't open my mouth after that, really. It's, the kind of, the newness to the phrases that he was singing, but the classical depth in them was astounding. And many experiences with him, singing in chamber concerts, listening to him, not with him, but listening to him sing. So that's one artist. Rita Rajanmani in Raga Sudha. She sang Kannada Ragam and sang Ide Bhagyamu, Tyagaraja Swami's composition. And never forget that she sang Ananda Bedivarnam that day. She sang Surya Murthy that day. In the end, she sang that, what is that, Virutam? That slokam that I think Vrindam or Ramakrishnan sang. Raka Chandra Samana Kanti Vadanam. I think, I'm not sure about the exact lyrics. She sang Nayaki in that slokam. Oh, so fresh in my memory. Rama Ravi Mami. Multiple concerts at Raga Sudha Hall. One time she sang Vidhi Illarkin Karanapriya. And she sang this one phrase. And I'm going to sing this phrase. It's going to come nothing close to what she sang. She was just starting to sing one round of Swaram. The that Nida is a very characteristic phrase of Kannada Priya, right? The whole hall, this is not an exaggeration, the whole hall, you could hear a buzz when she sang that Nida Ga. You could audibly hear that rush. Everybody felt that rush at the same time. That is the stuff of legends. We still have legends among us. That thing to take away. I'll finish with one last memory. Coincidentally, it's a nice raga to conclude with, Neelambari. In Shastri Hall, Hyderabad Brothers, that day there was no violin accompaniment. They had brought a Veena Vidwan with them from Andhra. I forget his name. I think he's an all radio staff artist in either Hyderabad or Vijayawada. I'm not sure. But he was very, very beautiful player also. Ishwaran Tara Mridangam. They conclude the concert with Uyala Lugavaya. And the Anupalila, there's this Jaru that goes from Kril Sa to Male Sa and backwards again. I don't know the composition, so I can't say exactly. Something like that.
Satsarvabhauma, yeah.
Like it's Satsarvabhauma, exactly. That Satsarvabhauma, Ishwaran has stopped playing. And that glide from Sa to lower Sa, whatever he did in between, pure magic. And again, the whole hall audibly could sense that, and I could hear the gas. as he sang that. I'll never forget that. I was sitting next to Bharat Sundar that day, I think, and K.V. Gopalakrishnan was also there that day. Magical.
I'm going to ask you one question. This is going to be just an imaginary question. Okay. Now, if I'm going to ask you, if you're going to be performing, and you want two vintage legends who are not there with us to accompany you. Okay, I'm going to give you two dream teams. So you can pick two dream teams.
Thank you.
I don't want to restrict you with one.
Yes, exactly. I know. Yeah, I'm glad you didn't stick with one. Also a little upset that you didn't give me three, but okay, I'll do the best I can with two.
I'm going to give you two only.
So violin, V.V. Subramaniam and T.N. Krishnan. Mridangam.
So both can be still possible if at all. So it's not as dream, yeah.
Oh, I'm assuming
as much a dream.
I'm assuming it's never going to happen. So
no, I'm just saying. Okay, they're still alive. That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
Then
Mridangam, Vellore Ramabhadran and Palakkad Raghu. And Palakkad Sundaram on the Ghatam. Or, I mean, if you're really talking about dreams, Umayapuram Kodanramayar on the Ghatam. And Ganjira, either Swaminatha Pillai on the Ganjira or V. Nagarajan Mama on the Ganjira. Actually, Mridangam, I would like to change my answers. I didn't take the dream thing seriously enough. I would like to say Palani Subramanian Pillai or.
I was wanting to tell you, if you're not going to say that, I would say my dream team for you would have been Palani Subramanian Pillai.
Palani Subramanian Pillai and C.S. Murugapudi. So as you can see, it's very hard to stick to two, but this would be it.
And violin?
Violin, I think I will stick with the two that I said. One second. I think I'll stick with the two that I said.
Okay. And now, if I'm going to give you a
bone. I have to say one thing. It's a very joking thing, Asing Samadhan Narasimhan, as we all know, is a fabulous raconteur of old tales and things like that. And he was recounting a story about how an upcoming musician, really wanted to have Chowdeya on the violin, Palakkad Maniya on the mridangam, and he somehow got them to accept. And they sat down and played a concert. And he went and sat on the stage and nothing came. And Narasimha told me, so if I have to get V.V. Subramaniam, Palani Subramaniam, or C.S. Murugapudi or Ramabhadran or Raghu Mama or somebody, I have to get up there and sing. Dreams are one thing, but anyway, just wanted to.
I'm also going to give you one more boon. Yeah, I'm not God, but I'll pretend to be one. So if I'm going to give you a boon saying that, three vocalists and three instrumentalists of the past, if I can bring them back alive, who would they be for you?
Shamma Vishnavasayar, Ramakrishnan, M.D. Ramanathan. Did I speak too fast? I don't know, but those are the three immediately. Instrumentalists, Papa Venkataraman Palani Subramanian Pillai.
You can say even the main instrumentalist also, you can say.
Main Purila.
Could be even a main instrumentalist. Could be a Veena Balachandra, or it could be a flute Mali, or it could be a Raja. I mean, I'm not wanting to preempt something. I'm just saying.
I would say Rajaratnam Pillawal or flute Mali, but I feel like even if they were alive, like I couldn't, to even hold a conversation with them, to kind of, talk. Not that it's a good point, but I don't know. Let's see.
If I'm going to send you on a time machine to Back to the Future, would you want to belong to the era of, where Shamagudi Mama and Arigudi Ramanjangar, Vishwanath Iyer, and all of them existed? Or would you want to be in the era of Tyagaraja, Dikshitar, Shama Shastri, and others? Or even earlier, like Purandaradasa?
Everything comes with preconditions, though. Like if you transferred me back to the era of Shamagudi Vishwanath and Arigudi Ramanjangar, I would have studied well and gotten a job that let me listen to as many concerts as I could possibly listen to. I would not be singing. இப்பவே வந்து பிரமையில தான் இருக்கேன். அப்போ I mean, if I was there, you could only imagine, right? So I would not be singing for sure. That I know, because I would have nothing to offer. I mean, everything would already be there, right? Madhurmani, GN sir, so it's all already done, So in the time of Tyagaraja Swami, I don't even think I would need to be a human, probably just to fly on the wall in Thiruvayar, in Tirumazangiri at his house, to witness him. And they say him and Dikshidhar met up, and he sang Mama Pata Virama after Tyagaraja Swami finished his puja. To be a fly on the wall or just a nondescript Shishya sitting there and listening to that. I would like to ask my own question and answer it actually in the spirit of this. If you ask me who I wanted to be, if I could transfer back in time and be somebody, I would want to be Subbaraya Shastri and learn from all
the trinities
and learn from all three of them.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Now I'm going to ask you one concluding question. I know I am still excited to ask you a lot more. We'll keep for another conversation.
Yeah.
But one thing that I'm going to ask you is, we all know that musicians have lived past their time, but more so the composers. They had no media, they had no social presence, nothing, just their music. Today, after 200 or 500 years later, we're still singing. If Ramakrishnan Murthy wants to be something, what would you want to be after 100 years? Would you want to do something that you want to be remembered after 100 years? Or you're very happy and content that I'm serving the audience who are listening to me, and that so is that, I want to give an elevating experience along with the experience that I'm entertaining as a musician, or what would it be? Where would you look at yourself 20 years down the lane at the end of your career after 40, 50 years?
I'm no different. See, I'm no different than anybody else. I'm a human being. I like when people say nice things about me. Yes, I would like to be remembered after my lifetime because people think I did something worthwhile. But I think...
What would you like to be remembered as? You would like to do something on a contribution that will mark you away from everybody else and say, this is Ramakrishnan Murthy, or you don't have any definition, but you just want to be remembered in some way?
No, I can't say I can't say I want to be remembered. I want to be eternal or something like that, because it's one thing to want it, it's one thing to deserve it, right? And I told you earlier in the conversation, my deepest desire in life is to merge with the tambura, really, and not have to think about what I'm singing as I sing it. I feel that if I can do that, then the other stuff doesn't really need to be even spoken about. If it has to happen, it will happen on its own. But that's the only thing that I really, really, really desire. My deepest desire from the bottom of my heart. Really, that's really what I want. And right now, my state of mind is that it seems pretty impossible. The way I'm singing right now, the way I'm practicing, it's just going to be a goal forever, I think, till the day I die. So I really don't know how I'll be perceived, after my time, or even now. Now, of course, I have, my professional obligations, my professional responsibilities, to sing well, to fulfill my unwritten contract with the listening public, right, as a performer. And, if I get into teaching, and my students that I have know to teach them with integrity, to sing with integrity, all that is there. But this is the one thing that I really want. I'm sorry that it's not a direct answer to your question.
I know.
That is my deepest.
So I'm going to give you another boon, saying that, everything, assuming that your entire professional things are taken care. what would your inner, deeper sense of music wanting you to be? I would like to sing like this. Is there anything? Forget about everything, entertaining audience, everything. So there's an inner pursuit, right? Now I'm getting into your spiritual sense of where your music belongs to, your inner satisfaction. So what kind of music you think you would like to produce? I know that you said you would like to align to the tambura without thinking about the tambura.
But isn't that an all-inclusive answer? Like, doesn't everything happen? Don't you merge? I mean, if you think that the tambura sound is divine, which it is to me, then isn't that the ultimate thing, to merge with the divine?
Absolutely.
Through my medium, which is singing. Isn't that the ultimate? Right? That is what I want. That is what I. That's really what
that is the ultimate Nadopasana in its entirety. So very well put in, though we didn't mention the word Nadopasana. It's merging into the sound.
I want to be able to get into the Trinity compositions as much as I can. Like what Shanmugri Mama said, like one lifetime is not enough. So till the day I die, I want to be able to delve into those. I guess that's the only thing I would say apart from what I already said.
Finally, do you think there should be a perfect balance, 50-50 of mind and the heart, or you would still tilt the balance 70 to heart, 30 to mind, or anything like that? From your perspective.
See, Anna, I think we can agree that the whole point of arts is to connect people together emotionally, right? It's to spur emotions within people. It's to make people feel things, right? Now, there's no mention about intellect or brain or mind or anything in that ultimate truth, right? But we know that as practitioners of an art form, there is a lot of stuff that you need to apply your mind to, and you need to learn, and you need to grapple with and do that, which is where the intellectual thing comes in. So instead of putting percentages on mind versus heart or emotional versus intellectual, it's important to keep the overall goal of art being instigator for
heart
emotion.
For heart.
You got it. You got it.
And I liked one quote that you told about connecting the past, present, and future. You know, I would like you to end the thing with that beautiful quote. I know in an informal conversation we had it. I would like you to connect that and end the session with that.
So Vidushi Pantularama, in one of her lecture demonstrations, concluded her lecture demonstration saying that our responsibility as musicians is to encapsulate the past, right? Enrich the present.
I think you said enlighten the present.
And enlighten, no, it's enlighten the future for sure.
Okay.
Enrich the present and enlighten the future. And enlighten the future.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Wonderful, Ram.
Yes, thank you so much. I had such a blast.
Enjoyed this heartfelt conversation with you. And the connect between
I really appreciate it.
How your mind actually connects deeper to your heart. That was what came out. The passion of you being, a musician who is so much into the aura of music itself. So aura of being in this music. That is what I felt is very special. May your great contributions and your great performances continue. Wishing you all the best post-pandemic, and a very healthy and beautiful art that you are able to give to the entire community globally. Let it continue. Thank you very much.
Thank you. My pleasure. I had such a. You made it so comfortable for me to. I mean, we've discussed so much, outside of the camera, but to have that same connect on camera is a tough thing to do, and I'm really thankful to you for that, for giving me this opportunity to speak on all these things. So thank you so much. I really,
thanks
really means a lot. Thank you. Thank you.
Good night. It's very late for you. Thanks a lot for your time. Thank you. Good night.
Pleasure. Good night. Good morning.